Hi everyone, my name is Micah McLean and I'm the creator of the Micah McLean Talks YouTube channel. Before I go on, please remember to like, share, subscribe and comment on all of the content on this channel.
Jordan Jarret Bryan, thank you so much for coming on. You are a sports reporter for Channel 4 News. You're also a presenter on Talk Sport as well, and you've also featured on the likes of Arsenal Fan TV. You've been in The Guardian, your Football Weekly podcast, and you've written articles for several prominent newspapers. So thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. The first question I'd like to ask you is please tell us about your early life and your experiences playing wheelchair basketball.
So my early life, well, I'll start with that. Sport. I've always loved sports. Not necessarily brilliant at all the sports I did, but I've always enjoyed playing sports. I've always enjoyed watching sports. Um, I've always enjoyed the kind of competitive nature of sports. Um, at school, played football, rounders. I think did a bit of gymnastics. I was okay at. Um, and that kind of just grew and grew and grew. I was always, playing football and talking football about with my friends at school. And then fast forward into when I was about 13, well, actually about 10, I was playing football for a team in South London. And after about 3 seasons of playing for them, my coach told my mum that he couldn't sign me for the following season for insurance reasons, and that's because of my prosthetic leg. So
Mm.
just to let your viewers, your audience know, so I've got a prosthetic leg. I was born with a deformed foot that was amputated when I was 18 months years old.
Mm.
And so I had plastic legs, excuse me, since I was 18 months years old. So playing football with a prosthetic is dangerous in theory, because if I tackle you or even you tackle me, you crunching into a regular leg is very different to you crunching into a plastic leg. You could do yourself some damage, and me as well. So they said that we can't sign him again. So I told my mum, I want to keep playing sport. What can we do? So she got back to me, not long after that, and said, I found this wheelchair basketball team in East London, in Ilford. Do you want to go along, have a go? And I was like, okay, not really, but I'll give it a go. You know what I mean? I went along and I hated it. Didn't
Mm.
like it at all. Went back the following week. Didn't like it. Went back the following week. Still didn't like it. But I guess I got really good really quickly. And that's what helped me enjoy it. When you're good at something, even if you don't love it, you're kind of like, well, I'm good at it. So, do you know what I mean? I'll carry on doing it. And I got really good really quickly. And I joined the GB team. And then from then, had a career in wheelchair basketball that took me all over the world, and a professional career for 4 years in Italy.
Thank you so much from that. And following on from that, what factors influence your decision to make that transition from wheelchair basketball to TV presenting and reporting, which is what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I was in Italy for the fourth season, fully intending to go back to Italy for a fifth season. I
Mm.
actually negotiated an improved contract, but that was the summer where Channel 4 had just won the broadcasting rights for the 2012 Paralympic. So this was '09, and they'd won the broadcast rights for the 2012 games. And so part of that was um, they wanted to have new, fresh talent with disabilities. That was part of their
Mm.
kind of pitch. We want to have a coverage team, presenters, reporters, whatever, but we want them to have disabilities. So I didn't know about this because I was obviously away. But when I was back for the end of the fourth year in the off season, in the summer, I met a friend of mine who'd had a meeting with Channel 4 about something unrelated. But he said, "Oh, forget all that. I've had a meeting with Channel 4, and they've just finished their kind of like competition to find new talent. The closing entry's gone. Sorry, the entries have closed. Makes sense. Um, but I mentioned your name, and if you can get a show reel like in now, they will look at it. They'll check it out." So I phoned a friend, got a show reel done the following day, um, and submitted it, and they liked it. They liked it, and they added me to the team, to their coverage team, and then they trained us up. So the idea was that they would train up over 3 years or 2.5, 3 years, talent to be presented. By the time the games came around, we were ready to do live TV, and that's what happened. 2012 came. We won awards all over the place. It was a great success. And it was amazing. And then the game is finished, and I was like, right, that was a great 3 years. Okay, so what now? Sort of thing. It was over. It was done. But I'd actually at a Channel 4 Paralympic rap party was on the same table as the then new editor of Channel 4 News, and he'd said that he'd seen some of my work and he liked it and enjoyed it. I was chewing off his ear about how I wanted to stay in sports broadcasting, and I really enjoyed it. Rare, rare, rare. Anyway, I got his business card. We had a meeting. 10 years later, still there, yo.
Thank you so much for that answer. And just following on from that, you've been on the sports commentators on Channel 4 for the 2012, 2016, and also the 2021 Paralympic Games.
Yeah.
So how did Channel 4's coverage of that event open the public eyes to disability sport, but ultimately raise awareness of what people can do with like disabilities as well?
So I think, and not just because I was a part of it, but I think that the coverage that Channel 4 produced of the games in 2012 was revolutionary in terms of how we portrayed disabled athletes. Now I say that because I think we put the focus. I think we humanized those athletes to a degree, to the point where we maybe humanized them too much. And I'll get to what I mean by that in a second. But we made them. The whole campaign was superheroes. These guys are phenomenal athletes. They can, these guys one guy has no arms and he can swim like 100 meters in 12 seconds. This guy's in a wheelchair and he can shoot a 3-pointer. This guy has no arms, but he's a archer. These people are phenomenal athletes. That was the whole campaign. Superhumans. And so I think the public had never seen disabled people, let alone athletes, but disabled people portrayed in that light. And I think once people saw that, they were like, wow, these people are phenomenal. And the respect for what they do in their sports, I think, went up tenfold. So I think, and then I think the impact that had not only nationally, but internationally, I think the world was watching. So broadcasts all over the world were thinking, damn, these guys have gone in. Like, we've done 350 hours, I think it was, of coverage. It was wall to wall. So Channel 4 for all 3 games have wiped the schedule. So what that means is from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. it's magazine shows and live coverage. There's no Come Dine With Me. There's no countdown. There's no Gogglebox. There's no Hollyoaks. There's no nothing. Everything got wiped. So before we got the rights, BBC had the rights. And what they would do was they would do a highlights package at the end of every day. So I think it was an hour of like 6 till 7 highlights of all of the sports coverage. Like, you're covering 20 odd sports, 25 sports. How do you package the best of the day's action across 25 different sports in 1 hour? And interviews. It was just rude. But Channel 4 were like, no, forget 1 hour a day. We're going to give 350 hours across the entire Paralympics. And I think when people saw how seriously Channel 4 treated the games and gave it the respect it deserved, I think internationally people were like, whoa, we need to up our game. So subsequently, obviously, Rio and Tokyo had the next 2 games. They had to like up their game. It was like, yo, we got the next ones. We need to start putting some money into this coverage thing. Now, the reason why I said earlier on that I think maybe Channel 4 over-humanized the athletes was this. One of the things that I was hearing from many people after the London Games, we've got lots of credit, lots of praise, won every award. But many disabled people who I spoke to said to me, it was great, it was brilliant, we loved it. However, by making those athletes or selling them as superhumans, it makes everybody else who's disabled, who's not an athlete, feel less human. So to kind of break that down, the way they saw it was, well, so unless you're a wheelchair racer, and you're doing 100 meters, or unless you're a wheelchair basketball player or a swimmer or a cyclist, unless you're one of those people, we don't really count. We're not really important. And it's important to remember that Paralympians make up a percentage of disabled people. Most disabled people are not Paralympians. Most people in wheelchairs, or who are blind, or who have a hearing impediment, or have one arm, or have cerebral palsy, or have polio, whatever it may be, most people are not Paralympians. They are the extreme 1% of society. So you're putting the highlight on the spotlight on 1%. But what about the 99% of us who aren't Paralympians? So, and I found that interesting because whilst they were praising the respect and the courage we gave the Paralympians, they felt inadvertently it almost disrespected them, because it was like, well, if you're not that, you're not important. So that's where I think there was a kind of interesting dynamic, I thought, that I definitely heard from people who were disabled afterwards. Yeah, but I think generally the public view disabled people differently now. And the example I often use is when I get on the bus now, there was always a bit of a faff when a person in a wheelchair would wheel on the back of the bus. They might need a bit of help. The ramp comes out. It's up the curb, get in, and it's a bit of a. People would kind of stare and look, and it would be a big spectacle. Whereas I remember the first time after the games, I saw a wheelchair user get on the bus. No one gave a damn. No one gave a damn. No one looked. It wasn't a spectacle, because I think we'd been used to now seeing people in wheelchairs, mobile and doing their own thing. No, thank you for your help, but I can get on myself. Thank you, but do you know what I mean? If anything, what was happening is the person in the back of the bus would be like, "Can you hurry up, mate? I've got work to go to." And in some ways, I like that. You know why? Because they were treating that disabled user like they would treat anybody else. I don't care if you're in a wheelchair or not. I'm late for work. Hurry up. And that's the same thing they would say to someone like me or you. If I'm getting on the bus and taking too much time, the person at the back of the bus is going to be like, "Mate, hurry up." And although it's not nice to be heckled by a fellow passenger, at least it put disabled users, or say wheelchair users, on the same level as everyone else. Do you know what I mean? There was no, because you're in a wheelchair, I'm not gonna. No. You're no different to the rest of us. Hurry up, get on the bus, and let's go. Do you know what I mean? So that is what I think the perception. That's what Channel 4's coverage did. It made disabled people normal. Like, special. You're no different to me or you. You're no more special. Just get on the bus and let's go. And that attitude, I think, was really, really. The grunting and the tutting and the hurry up and all that stuff. I saw it and I liked it. I liked it because like I said, it showed me that these people are seeing these people in wheelchairs like everybody else.
Thank you so much for that. I'm following on from your answer. Do you think attitudes towards disability has improved within the workplace since the coverage of the Paralympic Games?
Good question. I think there's an understanding. We're doing some work where I work, Channel 4, about this actually. I think there's an understanding that there needs to be a better understanding of what disabled people need and don't need in the workplace. I think we're now well past, well, some places, I think we're well past now, give them a lift and their own toilet, their own table toilet, and that's enough. And it's like, well, no, it's more than practical things like that. Although some places haven't even got that anymore, which I think is illegal. I don't think you're allowed to actually build a building now and not have a disabled toilet or a lift. But anyway, I think what needs to happen now is that kind of, at times, awkward dynamic of, when do I help you? When do I not help you? When do I offer to do something for you? When do I just like, no, let him, he or she can make their own way. They might have a walking disability, but they can get to the door themselves. They're fine. It might take them a little bit longer, but they're okay. They're all right. And that kind of is the conversation now that's happening. How do we read the situation? How do you tell when someone needs, help getting to the lift or picking something up? And when do you just like, no, leave that? They can get it themselves, and they're capable. Take them a little bit longer maybe, but they're capable. So I think that convo is going on right now. I don't know. It's a hard one to answer because the disabled people that I see in my workplaces, there doesn't seem to be any kind of overt problems. I
Mm.
think it's just a case of understanding when someone needs assistance and when they don't, and that's all about just kind of being a human. And you may get it wrong. Sometimes
Mm.
you may offer to help when they don't need help, and other times you may not offer to help when actually they do need some help. So that'll be, I think that's where we are at the moment. That kind of understanding of understanding, if that makes sense.
Former cricketer Azim Rafiq spoke to media today, determined to keep the pressure on the sport's governing body after what he called a disappointing response to his testimony in Parliament.
It just felt so out of touch, just felt like didn't really answer stuff. I don't think people still get it. I don't think the leaders, ECB, PCA, I'm not sure they still get it. And until they actually get it, it's really difficult to move forward. If yesterday doesn't make them get it, then unfortunately, they're never going to get it. Until you embarrass them, until you disrupt them and hit them in the pocket with the sponsors, they won't change.
We wanted to put some of Rafiq's claims to the ECB, but they declined an interview. And there are now growing concerns about whether the governing body of the sport are involved in a serious conflict as those who are both promoting the sport whilst at the same time regulating it as well. The ECB said yesterday that they condemn racism and will take the necessary action to change. Rafiq has also placed a spotlight on the England dressing room and the culture of racism within it, a dressing room currently being captained by Joe Root.
Do you think he is still fit to be the England captain if he was in environments where he was in a situation where he could have called it out but didn't?
Look, like I said yesterday, Ruty's a good man. He never engaged in racist language, and we've got to make sure it doesn't become about individuals. And the environment and the culture was such that this was such a norm. He probably doesn't remember it, and well, he probably didn't see anything wrong with it, just like everyone else. So yeah, I think we've got to make sure that we stay on the cause, and it's about the institutions and the governance structures that need to be really changed, so we don't end up in this position again.
For institutions to change, individuals have to change first and foremost. Are there still other current England players that you know for a fact were in environments where racist language was used and not called out?
I have no doubt everyone would have been in a dressing room somewhere that, I mean, like I said, the phrase Kevin was openly used in the England dressing room, so that in itself says yeah, and clearly hasn't been called out. So yeah, look, I've said this, it's not just a Yorkshire problem. It's all well and good everyone throwing the book there. It's a problem up and down the country.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to also ask, you're a top sports journalist. You've had the opportunity to interview
I'm all right.
You've achieved a lot. You've interviewed the likes of Emma Raducanu, Jordan Archer, Azim Rafiq. Not many people can say that. So what advice would you give to up-and-coming young black, broadcasters, journalists, etc., that want to follow in your footsteps and achieve greatness as well?
Do the job you want to do with the resources that you have at your dispense. So you can't phone up Emma Raducanu and just say, "Hey, can I do an interview?" Of course you can't. What you can do is call up the guy that plays for your local rugby club, football club, or basketball club and say, "Hey, can I do an interview?" You can do that. You can even phone your friends and say, "Can I practice interviewing you?" So I would always say, my advice is just do it. Just do it. And I know Nike have coined that phrase. Just do it. Too many people make excuses. There are many, many ways to be a broadcaster now. It's a lot easier and a lot more accessible than it was when I first came in. You have more platforms now. You have YouTube, WordPress, blogs, vlogs, podcasts, bloody, listen, you can be a broadcaster from your home. Now, just because you might not get the famous big names, that doesn't necessarily mean that what you're doing is not valuable or improving your skill sets. With the resources that you have at your disposal, be a broadcaster. Get a mic, get a Zoom account, hit up some people on Twitter. It's never been easier to access people than it is now. You think I could just email Usain Bolt or email Andy Murray 15 years ago. Now I can DM them. All right, they might not reply to me because they get a million DMs and it probably isn't them managing their account anyway. But at least there's now an email on their Twitter page or their Instagram page where it will tell you who is the person to speak to. It will have their agent's email address. Never had that back in the day. That level of access. So I'm not getting to Usain Bolt or I'm not getting to Ronaldo, but I'm getting to Ronaldo's agent. And okay, I can bug him for 6 months until he concedes and says, okay, I'll give you 10 minutes with Cristiano Ronaldo. My thing, my best advice is just do it. Don't watch no one else. Don't watch what he's doing, what she's doing. Just do you. Just get on with it and do it, and hone your skills with the resources and the skill sets that you have at your disposal. We've all got something. My black book of contacts is going to be bigger than yours. My access to people will be better than yours, of course. But you still have access. So the little bit of access you've got, use it. You still have resources. You've got a big boy studio there in the background. Is that a real studio? Is that
It's not a real studio. It's a very good Zoom background.
Okay. But you got a mic. You got a phone. You know what I mean? Use the resources that you have and just do it. Don't make excuses. Just get on. If you want to be a broadcaster, broadcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. And following on from that, what is the sporting event you are most excited about covering?
I mean, it's two. So the women's football, but they're both football, by the way. The women's football Euros is in this country. So I'm excited about that this summer. I think if we get anything like what we had with the men's Euros here last year, then I think we're in for a really good summer. I don't think they'll win it, but I think that I'm looking forward to that. And the other one is the Men's World Cup in Qatar, which I'm hoping to be at there as well. For more reasons than just the football, excuse me. I think England could do well at that World Cup, but there's so many kind of news lines out of that World Cup. Do you know what I mean? That I'm fascinated to see how it goes down. It being the first ever Winter World Cup, I'm interested in that. I'm also keen to see Wimbledon because I'm keen to see how Emma Raducanu gets on this summer, and secondly, I'm keen to see if Djokovic gets in the country, which I think he will. But I'm keen to see the response that he gets. Do you know what I mean? Many people in this country, you don't underestimate them, are actually on his side with that whole story. So I'm keen to cover that event as well, but for reasons maybe not all on the court.
Thank you. And you're an Arsenal fan. You've been on Arsenal fan TV a number of times.
I have, yes.
So what I'd like to ask you is, what are the teams you think are going to make it to the top 4 in the Premier League and also the top 4 in the Women's Super League?
In the Women's Super League, I've not actually been across it as much as I should. I mean, my easy money would probably go on the top 3 being Chelsea, Arsenal. I think City might miss out, you know. Actually, I think City will get top 4. I don't know. Last I saw Spurs, they were doing okay from what I can remember. Forgive me if I've got that wrong, but we'll go Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, City. And then for the men's, well, top 3 sorted, Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea. I was saying Man United until about a week ago. I've got a sneaky feeling that Arsenal are front runners for that position. And that's not me being biased. I think that United are a mess, and I don't think that they've hit rock bottom yet. Spurs, I think, need to do some serious business in this window. Otherwise, I think they're gonna struggle. I think Arsenal will do business in this window. I think that with not having Europe or any cups, I know they've got the League Cup second leg this week at the point of recording, but the League Cup's over in a few weeks. So when you get to February, Arsenal have nothing else to play for apart from the league. I think that will benefit them. So I'll go Arsenal to be 4th.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal are one of the teams that always present news lines for everybody, be it, you know, they flatter to deceive or, you know, players underperforming. not getting players over the line. But let's start with the good news. A signing has been made by Arsenal. Ben White has been signed for 50 million from Brighton. In an area of the pitch that I think Arsenal definitely need to strengthen. I know Arsenal have got quite a lot of centre-backs, but I don't think they've got one particularly brilliant centre-back. I like Gabriel, saw glimpses of him that he could be a top one. I think Mari's got potential, but they don't have a brilliant centre-back. If we start with that signing, you know, our newsreader Tom Clayton there, who's a Leeds fan, was just saying that, you know, the year that he was at Leeds, one of their top 2 players that season. How much have you seen of Ben White, and how good a signing is that for Arsenal?
Well, I've seen him quite a lot. I think he's a very versatile defender, which ticks the box of can you play him in different positions? Can you play a 3? Most certainly so. I watched him at Leeds and Brighton, and I think they're getting a very accomplished player at a certain age. Look, Arsenal lost 13 games last season in the Premier League.
Disgraceful.
And that's, well, it's disgraceful. It's a lot of football matches. Yeah. Okay, and in some ways it was deemed as a transitional season for Arsenal, which it was. I do feel that there is a path they're trying to follow. They're trying to change a lot of that football club. I've always said the day Arsenal bought the Emirates or paid for a new stadium, the challenges from there on were going to be very difficult, because obviously the financial implications of something that Arsene Wenger kept under wraps for a long period of time, that knew he couldn't be as competitive in transfer market, which is obviously had an impact at the football club, and they were prepared to go with that. So was Arsene Wenger. I think Arsene Wenger protected a lot of the people behind the scenes at Arsenal and didn't demand some of the things that you'd need. If you're going to go and buy this fantastic stadium or build a great stadium and then not have a team to sort of be on the same level as a new stadium would be, one of the best in Europe, then you're going to suffer, and they have. And so it's no surprise they've got to where they have in the last few seasons. But there is a path. I can see what he's trying to do, but that won't count for much if they have a really poor start.
Well, I was going to pick up on that point there, because I think it's a massive season for Mikel Arteta. Anyone that knows me and has listened to me on TalkSport, I've been one of the people that have been throughout the season a big supporter of Mikel Arteta. Even when they were 15th, I didn't think he should have been sacked. 13 games losing, I think, is unacceptable. And if he had been sacked, it's hard to defend that he shouldn't have been sacked. I don't care what squad you've got at Arsenal, you can't finish 8th. I wouldn't have sacked him, but if he had been sacked, I wouldn't have, you know, there'd been no tears on my pillow. But I think he has to start the season on fire. I mean, we spoke earlier on about pre-season and how important the results are. I think the first 10 games of the season, if Arsenal haven't started the season well, I think he could be gone. Now, you could say, well, if you're not going to sack him when he's 15th, why would you sack him after 10 games? But I just think that with the fans back in the ground, and we know how hostile the Arsenal fans, how fast they can turn on players and indeed managers, I fear for him.
Thank you. I'm hoping that they're 4th as well, because I'm an Arsenal supporter myself.
Man, good man. Good man.
So I'd also like to ask you, with like the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, there's been the whole taking of the knee in football.
Yeah.
Which has been like divisive. Some people are for it, some people are against it. So do you think that the Black Lives Matter movement and the taking of the knee are compatible in their purpose in terms of providing an anti-racism message in football, or are they contradictory towards each other?
I don't know if they're contradictory. What I would say, first of all, is that I think that it's a personal decision. I'm of that mindset. Secondly, I think it's about intent. So I think if you're taking the knee, be very clear about why you're taking the knee. If you're not taking the knee, again, I don't have a problem with that per se, but be very clear about why you're not taking the knee. I was never really a big fan of taking the knee, because I just feel like when black men and women are being killed with impunity, I think we're past gestures. I think we need more than symbolic unifying gestures, which the taking the knee is. I think we need action, but I'm a bit more radical in that sense. I think players should be, just refusing to play. But I know there are all kinds of commercial and contractual issues that come with that, and that's why players won't do that. But that would be me. I think that I don't think they're contradictory. I think that I get the message, I get the point of it. I just think we need more, and I just don't think taking the knee is enough of a disruptor to make the change that I think we need to see. I think we need to force the governors of the game and indeed the government to be forced into putting in rules, regulations, and if needs be legislation to ensure that black people are protected from being killed. But the problem for me is when it's, and not so much here, granted, but in states when black people are being killed by the people meant to be protecting them, it's a problem. When the police are killing you, it's like, okay, well, hang on a minute, who can we go to? Do you know what I mean? So I think that there's a place for gestures, and I'm not anti taking the knee. It was interesting, the game on the weekend, Man City, Chelsea, we saw them everyone took the knee at the start, and then Sterling got up. I don't know if you saw, he kind of got up very, very early before everyone else did. And I wonder if that was the kind of thing now where that I could be interpreting this wrong, but that said to me that, oh, I'm just doing this now because we have to do it. Cool, let's get on with it. There wasn't any kind of, I'm taking the knee with intent. I'm thinking about why we're doing this. I'm symbolizing why we're doing this. Okay, let's go. It was kind of like a one knee down, 3 or 4 seconds. Okay, let's go. And I just wonder if even he is now over it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think they are compatible. I think the organisation of Black Lives Matter, from what I know of it, is one that has good intent. Wants black people to be respected and protected like everybody else, have the same rights as everybody else. But I think ultimately something a bit more radical within football anyway needs to happen if we're going to really see tangible change.
Thank you so much for that answer. Last question I'd like to ask is about your platform, Blakedemik. It's absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask you about the purpose of Blakedemik, just for the audience that might be watching, and ultimately your future plans for the platform.
Sure. So Blakedemik is my platform I set up 5 years ago. It started as a debate platform, debate show. It's all Blakedemik. The idea being that it was black people having conversations with black people about things that affect our community. I was fed up of seeing white men like Piers Morgan and Nick Ferrari and Lawrence Fox talking about the black community and black people with chest, stuff that they know nothing about. I was like, this is dangerous. This is the mainstream, and these people are dangerous. So I was like, no, we need to have important, mature, progressive, and informed conversations about how Brexit will affect our community, dating, smacking and the culture behind smacking. What else? You know, being conservative and black. All these issues were sort of things that I thought were worthy discussions. And now it's kind of evolved into a whole network. So we have multiple shows now, and I'm launching 2 more new shows in the next month, which I'm very excited about. Look out for those. And so the ultimate goal is to kind of inspire and celebrate our people and our culture. Everything that we do is about inspiring young black boys and girls to want to be the best they can be. I want black boys and girls to see the program and see themselves. To see a presenter like me with dreadlocks and it be normal. To see black women who are holding positions of power in business, in politics, wherever it may be, and think that's normal. I want them to see black men vulnerable and talking about masculinity and talking about being dads, all that kind of thing, and be like, okay, cool, this is normal. Do you know what I mean? I don't want them just to turn on the TV or whatever it may be and just see athletes and rappers. We're very good at that. We're the best at that. Dancing, singing, rapping, sports.
Yeah.
We know we're the best at that. Nothing wrong with that. I'm cool with that. We own that. But we own other things as well. We're very good at other things as well. I think Blakedemik is about showing people more. There's a plethora of things that black people are very good at and are skilled in and are excelling in. Do you know what I mean? Blakedemik is the window into that kind of world, hopefully, where you see that. Do you know what I mean? It's normalizing black people who are either just normal black people or who are excellent at what they do. And if it doesn't matter if you're just a normal binman or you work at the post office, or you're a pastor, or you're a bus driver, or you're a heavyweight champion of the world boxer, or you've got 5 big. I don't care. You're a black person, and we value you, and we see you. And I want these young black boys and girls to see our platform and be like, right, yeah, this is normal. It's not a big deal to see a black person presenting the news, or to be, talking politics, whatever it may be. And I guess the long-term future for it is I want the impact to be that people feel inspired to want to set up their own platform. I don't want to monopolize this space. I want other platforms, especially in the UK, to have more Blakedemics and set up their platform. But ultimately, if you don't want to set up your own platform, just to be inspired to do something. I think the word inspired is very overused. Inspiring ultimately isn't about, it's inspirational. Yeah. Inspiring is about moving you to do something. So if you're just like, it's inspirational, but you don't do anything on the back of it, then it didn't inspire you, did it? It was not, just say it was nice. Oh yeah, that just going back to the Paralympic chat, that athlete with no arms and no legs who swam, won a silver at the Paralympic. So inspirational. Okay. So are you gonna then start swimming and learning to swim and not be a Paralympian or Olympian, but if it inspired you, that means that it moved you to do something. That's what inspiration is. And I want people to be moved to do better. It hasn't got to be anything grand or big, but I want it to move you to the point where I'm like, I saw this thing on Blakedemik, and yeah, I'm gonna start writing, or yeah, I'm gonna do poetry, or yeah, I'm gonna start singing, or yeah, I'm gonna, whatever it may be. That's what I want. The long-term future is us to have an imprint on our community, and I guess ultimately our community to look at Blakedemik and resonate with it and respect it. What you don't want is to be representing the community in your way, and your community doesn't represent you or recognize you. That's not a good place to be. You haven't got to like all our content. You haven't got to agree with all of our shows. That's fine. I don't love everything that's on Channel 4. Believe me. But some stuff I do. Do you know what I mean? So you haven't got to love all of our content, but what is important to me is that black people can say, boy, I didn't love all their programming, but as a platform, I rate it, I respect it, and I feel like that's for me.
Thank you so much for such an excellent interview, Jordan.
Blakedemik.com, by the way. Blakedemik.com. Blakademik. There we go. Sorry.
I'll put a description at the bottom.
Good man.
Thank you so much for such a great interview, and I just wish you all the best with your career and also the future of Blakedemik.
Thank you, bro. Same to you, man. Thank you for having me.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? Oh no, hell no, more than that. It's Blakedemik Live. How are we doing, people? Okay. My name is Jordan Jarret Bryan. I'm the founder of.
So I run a production company specifically and intentionally in Brixton. And that's mainly because I always used to work in Soho and it wasn't as diverse enough for me. So the reason why we moved to Brixton is because we wanted to tap into the local creative community.
We own all natural plant-based skincare routines that put your well-being first. We have built up a community of over 3,000 women. And from that we've really been thinking about how we need to elevate our mission now.
Angela?
So I'm Angela Ferreira. I'm currently the Managing Director of Douglas Road Productions, which is a company that was started by Sir Lenny Henry CBE. We're a Banijay-owned company. So my background is in television production. I worked at the BBC for a long time.
So I'm Bian, and I'm a journalist by background and an aspiring coder by night. And my current role is really heading up LinkedIn's EMEA and LATAM team of consultants, 2 of who are there behind, here to cheerlead me.
When I was working at Salt, one of the things I found was as much as they supported me as a creative, I also found I was always the only black woman in the room. So whether that was me coming into a large company and then going from reception upwards, I didn't see anybody else who was black, and I thought that was quite an issue. And it became more of an issue when conversations around you know, not being able to cast black people. You know, if I come into a space, I often found I was kind of spoken to, oh, are you the runner? And it's like, no, I'm the one who's I'm gonna be paying your invoice. And sometimes I could see an immediate change when I would say, oh no, I'm producing, not to throw my weight around, but just to let you know who I was. And then that atmosphere would change quite rapidly.
At a director level across industry, regardless, only 9% of women in color are directors. When you get to the vice president level, it's 6%. And when you get to C-suite level, it's 3%. That's all women of color. Wow. So that really brings to life the challenge that we face when we come into the industry.